When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come into Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Malice, and welcome to this edition of Connect With Me on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6 on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. And on this Monday morning, it is on the air, off the presses. Our friend from the Fresno Bee is here to talk about all kinds of issues. Animal control. We're going to talk about the convention center. And if we have time, we'll even talk about your water rates that went up. Sorry, though, this show is on tape. No phone calls on this day. Back with our show in just a moment. Glad to have you along on this Monday morning for another edition of Connect With Me. It's on the air, off the presses. We apologize, though. No phone calls on this day. We know that you're a part of this program, and we value your phone calls, but this program is on tape, and we're talking to our friend from the Fresno Bee. And for the last couple of years, this thing has been all over the newspaper, the television news, the internet. It's about this animal control thing and what you do about it. There are a lot of people in this Central Valley that think we should have a no-kill zone for every animal. Is that possible? We'll let you, the viewer, decide. But today we're going to be talking about Liberty Animal Control, and it's been 1 year since they took control of those services. They're over at the old morgue, remember that, here in Fresno County. Let's go to the videotape, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Liberty Control. Of course, the conditions inside the animal shelter itself, we're going to take a look at that, where they take in about 200 animals a day. There have been some complaints, though, by some animal lovers that those conditions are deplorable, they say, that Liberty needs to clean up its own act in the way that it handles these dogs and cats. Management, meanwhile, disputes some of those claims, and one supervisor in particular is saying that Liberty, hey, they're doing a fine job under the difficult circumstances. The clash between government officials and animal lovers has been ongoing for a number of years. What to do about that? Over issues like overcrowding, spay and neuter, and of course, euthanasia. It's a gigantic topic, one that simply will not go away, not even in this day and age. And Liberty is going into the second year, remember, of controlling the shelter. And should they get a raise? More than 2,800 animals inside. 1,600 of these animals apparently are pickups off the street. Live in our studio right now is George Hostetter of the Fresno Bee. He has written extensively about this animal control issue. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago on Sunday, he had an outstanding article on the front page of the Fresno Bee. We'll talk to George about that. He knows this issue inside and out. He's covered City Hall for many years. We'll also talk to him about the Fresno Convention Center. Should SMG continue controlling the convention center and Soroyan Theater and Sullivan Arena and all the rest? Are we losing money? And what about your water rates that recently went up on September the 17th? We're going to be back with our guest today, George Hostetter. Sorry again, no phone calls, but we're back with a special program of Connect With Me on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6.
All right, from the beginning. My name's Friday. I carry a badge. Police officers.
You any idea who the other man was?
My partner's Bill Gannon. We got just one big question.
Yeah?
When?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
A little bit of joking here before we get started here on Connect With Me. George Hostetter is our guest. I think the last time he was here, he was on with Dennis Hart. But see, I want to get Dennis Hart out of my head because we don't want the gremlins kicking in, George. No. We want a smooth program today.
That's Dennis's middle name, Mr. Gremlin.
How are you? Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, John.
So this animal control thing, Has it gotten out of control?
Well, that's a fair question. It's monumentally complex, and I think everyone's heart is in the best place. No one wants to see animals abused or put down. But you've got county involved, which is the contracted with Liberty, and you've got the city involved, the city of Fresno, which is now with SPCA. And you have all sorts of permutations here, and of course, anything involving all of that, you've got politics up to the eyeballs.
Oh, goodness. And a lot of money involved.
A lot of money involved and emotion involved. So, on one hand, maybe it doesn't rise to the level of importance of public safety. It doesn't. But it's the little critters. I have a dog. We all love our little critters, and that's why it brings out both the anger and the tears.
Is it possible to have a no-kill zone in the Central Valley for dogs and cats or any other animals?
Well, I would say yes, it is. I think the definition of no-kill, now I'm not an expert in this, but I attended recently a seminar of experts on this, both locally and from out of state, and I think a definition of no-kill is in the 90% range.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's not necessarily 100%, although certainly that's a goal. And, John, we're human beings of free will. Yes, it's possible.
What's the
answer? Is it highly possible? I would say no. I would say
What's
no.
the answer to getting to that 90%? Is it spay and neuter, or is it something more than that? Is it mindset?
Well, what are there? 950,000 people in Fresno County, and all you need is 950,000 people of high responsibility. Bingo.
It's
you
done.
Got it.
Done.
But you know how human beings are.
Yeah, I know.
They come in all types of attitudes, and when you start throwing that mix of human character, human behavior, and a nation built on liberty, you've got...
Well, the thing is, you have so many different cultures here in the Central Valley. And if you go from, our program goes from Atwater almost all the way down to Bakersfield, which is a lot. I mean, think of the coverage area. How many people live between Atwater and here and down to Bakersfield? You probably have well over 1 million, maybe a couple of million. I don't know. Think of how many dogs and cats you would then have in that area. Mm-hmm. Just amazing.
And that's part of the conflict where... and I consider myself an animal lover, but on one hand you would have people who say no kill is possible, 95% of saving. And let's pursue that, and just if there's enough will, it can happen.
Yeah.
Then you have the Board of Supervisors, the City Council, and the Mayor who are charged with dealing with the practicality. And they go, every day is out there, we're on the job, and we don't have idealism we can't. We have to handle the world the way it is. And so you have that conflict. And what has unfolded over the last year has been a perfect example of how that conflict can work to the detriment of the idealists. 12 to 18 months ago, the animal lovers actually had kind of a coup at City Hall, and started, and then it moved over into the County Hall of Records. Yeah, the activists got their way. We're going to have a new dawn. We're going to change things the way we want it to be. County and the city get together with a task force and the activists. Let's come up with a new reformed model. Well, John, it all kind of just dwindled down to nothing.
And now all of a sudden, there's no task force anymore, is there?
Well, if there's a task force, they're not meeting. And they don't have authority behind it, because all of a sudden the soups and the county folks go, we got to do something. The deadline's coming. SPCA is hitting the road. We need some sort of, by law, some sort of mechanism to handle animal control. So Liberty comes on board. And, of course, the City Hall... they went to hat in hand to the SPCA and says, please come back, and here's an extra $1 million. And now we're sort of back to status quo, and so that's where we stand.
That's amazing. I want to go back and show you an SPCA timeline. So to understand where we are now, and George speaks very eloquently about this. Let's put that up on the screen. George, you can look up there the timeline, September 2011, and I took this out of your brilliant article in the Sunday paper a couple of weeks ago. City Council approved a one-year, $2.2 million animal lovers concern, though, about the euthanasia. Okay. Then in 2012, in December, Clint Olivier, our city council member, fueled the fire with the SPCA. No public meetings, and they quit talking. I'm talking about the SPCA. Okay. Fast forward to March 2012. They gave a 6-month notice to bail out. The task force was formed, but then fizzled out, as you just mentioned. They were talking about a sales tax, George. That's what actually caused the task force to kind of dwindle a little bit?
Well, no. I think the task force dwindled because of the complexity of politics and getting this done. There are all sorts of issues. We could spend an hour going through them, but the task force fizzled because of the complexity of getting anything done in a democracy. And at the whole time, this 6-month SPCA notice is ticking. Tick, 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 tick.
The clock
tick.
is ticking, yes.
And so all of a sudden, people go, well, where are we going to get the money? Who's going to be in charge of whatever we create? Who's going to be the boss? Who's going to be the enlisted people following the boss's orders? And it became much more difficult than what anybody thought. The City Hall folks began to lose faith in this task force because they had a deadline. And so then the task force dwindles, and of course the sales tax angle.
Yeah, nobody wanted that.
And it's that would take a vote, and now there are a variety of issues about on the vote. Do we concentrate on Measure Z and the zoo tax rather than hitting voters with two sales tax issues? And so it got much more complicated than anybody thought, especially in a 6-month frame.
Time to take a break, but I do want to continue on the other side talking about Liberty Animal Control. It's over at the old morgue, of course. They've been there for more than a year now. And are things going the way you expect them to go? Sorry, no phone calls today. A special program here with George Hostetter, our friend from the Fresno Bee. Back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
So animal control, how does this affect you and how do you feel about it? Our friend George Hostetter from the Fresno Bee is here talking about it. He's written about it extensively in the Bee. Outstanding article a couple of weeks ago on the front page, and enjoyed reading. In fact, that article was so long, but I read it twice. Interesting reading, George. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You didn't mean to make it so long. Next time it'll be shorter.
No, listen, a lot of people, listen, you know how much work that takes just in preparation, investigative work, phone calls. That's before you even sit down and start writing the piece. I mean, it's amazing.
For all journalists, right.
Yeah, all right. Just wanted to point that out. But anyway, let's put up on the screen Liberty Control now. Last year they signed a 3-year deal. I believe, now I took this out of your article, $750,000 for the first year. I guess the question is, second year, third year, what do you think it'll be?
Well, that's a fair question, but Liberty's working for the county at $750,000. The county had been paying about a little less than $1 million to the SPCA. Maybe it'll bump up by a third, up to $1 million. I'm just guessing, but I can see that happening.
The conditions inside. Here's what I found so fascinating about your article that I read this part a couple of times, maybe even more. There were some complaints about the kennel size being too small, about, this is a demoralizing atmosphere, disorganized, dogs are boiling in the summer heat, unvaccinated dogs are sent to rescue groups, dogs are being put down too quickly, others are left to die, the employees were threatened into silence. How much credence do you put in a lot of this that you uncovered for your piece?
Well, I think it stands to reason that any shelter can be somewhat demoralizing if you love animals. You've got a little Fido in a cage, and you want him to have a nice home. So in that sense, there's, no matter who runs the shelter, there's one strike against the folks. But yes, it's a makeshift area. No one disputes, the Liberty folks, the county folks, no one disputes what's out there at the old morgue is makeshift. In fact, the Soups will allocate a couple of $1 million to build something more substantial, not a permanent shelter for the next 40 or 50 years, but maybe a start of something more substantial. $2 million is real money.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, there will be something better there.
Yeah.
And you have to also understand the kind of how quickly this was put together. I went out there a couple of days before October 1st of 2012 when Liberty took over, and there were county officials who normally are behind desks with ties on, out there swinging hammers with everyone else to get this thing put together because they had no choice. But what's interesting, John, is it's not so much the shelter, is who runs this. And that's, again, where politics comes in. It's so fascinating.
Now, I will say that for our viewers that didn't read George's article, Becky Holly from the Fresno Bully Rescue is one of the people that George quoted as far as one person being concerned about those conditions inside the shelter. But Daniel Bailey, he's the Liberty co-owner, and he basically told you that, hey, things are going fine, things are not perfect, and Henry Perea kind of admitted, kind of in between the lines, maybe things are not perfect, but they're running pretty darn smoothly.
Right.
So you got two different viewpoints there.
Mm-hmm. But where it's headed, I think, is that, and I don't know if the supervisors would do this, but that many in the animal rescue world here locally go, okay, we've got something up running. What we would like to see is to sort of lop off the top management of Liberty and insert ourselves.
Oh.
So that we would have, the evolution of a better center out there, but the management creating policies and the direction of the institution, it wouldn't be Daniel Bailey, it would be Jane Doe or John Jones from the animal rescue world. So what you would have then is that this task force is created with great anticipation and promise, and it fails. The county with Liberty hustle over there, put something up, have the first year of trial and error and taking the heat.
That's now, what this is. It's trial and error.
Trial and error. And so after it's up, then thank you, John. You've done a great job through all sorts of very difficult times, but we're going to kick you in the fanny and send you out. I'm going to be the boss. And maybe, and it's a tough world out there. Maybe that's the best way.
Maybe in a couple of years that's what will happen.
It could be. It's not for children out there in this political world. And so that's where the politics comes in, and that's the fascinating part.
I want to move on to another topic, but before we do, quickly, in just a few seconds, tell us how important is this issue to the Valley, in your opinion, the animal control issue?
Modestly important, not huge.
Okay.
Not huge.
And how many animals would you suspect they put down over there? A lot, huh?
Well, I think one of the reports I saw through 9 months, if I recall correctly, about 1,500 had been put down over there.
Yeah. Okay. Move on quickly to the Fresno Convention Center, and our friend, the City Councilman Lee Brand, who's a numbers cruncher, is very unhappy. Put up a picture of the convention center. We all know what it looks like, but I want to put the picture up anyway. And Lee Brand's telling you that, hey, he's unhappy with the amount of money that this place is losing. SMG is running it. We got to do something about this, George.
Mm-hmm. All right. And
so what's going to happen?
Well, there you go again. If I had to bet a Kit Kat on what's going to happen, is I think there will be a meeting of the minds, and that SMG will yield on some points that could mean some extra money to the general fund immediately, and both sides will claim victory.
Here is, let's put up the graphics, the full screens. Lee Brand, councilman, says that the city should have more control, annual audits, greater influence in selecting and removing the center's manager, and they need a 5-person oversight board. Okay? What do you think about this?
Well, this
Is this possible to even get all these things?
well, City Hall's the boss.
Yeah.
SMG is the hired manager, and there's a contract in place. But I think it's somewhat accepted by both sides that the contract has been at least one element has been violated, if that's the correct term.
Are there meetings going on right now, or what's the latest with that?
Yes. There are meetings all the time at City Hall and this, something like this, and yes. But the bottom line, though, is that Lee's hammer is this contract in which SMG is required to meet its budget benchmark. In essence, we'll give you $10 to run it, and if you need $11, you haven't met your budget benchmark, and you are in technical violation of the contract, and we can kill it with a 90-day notice. And SMG doesn't want that. It's a tough business they're in.
Oh, yeah.
But then, so City Hall can go, okay, let's sit down and talk. We would like A through Z, and in changes in the contract. And it could mean some more money to us and wouldn't break you. And how about negotiating with us? Well, you're already technical violation of part of the contract in which the boss can tell you, send you packing. You're going to sit down and negotiate. And it's that simple.
3 options, according to Lee Brand. Here they are. Do nothing, renegotiate a contract, cancel the contract, and let's go to the next one, too. How much money the convention center has lost. Anywhere from $1.1 to $1.2 million the last 3 years. So, with the 3 options, your opinion on what might happen? We all know don't have a crystal ball, but what's your take on this? What will happen?
They'll
hash it out?
They'll hash it out. I can't imagine. I shouldn't say I can't imagine.
Well, you never know.
You never know. But do nothing is not going to occur, and to cancel the contract would cause some stresses. They'll renegotiate. SMG,
and SMG will stay on running the place, huh?
That's my guess.
Yeah.
SMG is between a rock and a hard place. Running these convention centers is hard.
They were talking about closing the convention center.
Well,
I don't know how realistic that is.
Right, and Lee brought
there's
out
a lot of talk out there, George.
One, do we sell it? There's so much bond debt on it, they're not going to sell it. 2, do we mothball one aspect, one venue, and that fizzled out real quick. Yeah. No one had much interest in that, and so now it's mostly renegotiate to help the city's general fund.
Time to take a quick break here on Connect with Me. Come back, talk quickly about the water rates, and then we are going to close out our show. Back in just a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here with our friend George Hostetter from the Fresno Bee. Very insightful, informative show today on the air off the presses. And George, we're talking about water rates now. And City Hall is not a dull beat. Always something going on there. we got water rates to deal with. Mm-hmm. We had Measure G. I want to put up what the water rates were. Doug Vagum, of course, he's for getting this thing on the ballot. 61 cents per 100 cubic feet or 748 gallons. That's what you were paying prior to September 17th. What are you paying now, my friends? Well, there it is, $1.11 per 100 cubic feet or 748 gallons. So Doug Vagum is behind this whole issue to put this thing on the ballot, take it to the people, and see if they can roll back the rates to what they were. What do you think the chances are there? Because there's a court hearing. I'm not sure when it is. They may throw this whole thing out.
Right. And it's, well, if it gets to the ballot, there will be I'm guessing, an election that would make Measure G look tepid. That would be
really?
that would be brutal. And
it would cost the city to put on that election, too.
Well, yes. Of course, it would probably be in the June of 14, so rather than being a special election in which they have to bear the entire cost, like they had to last time for the Measure G, this would be, with primaries, etc. So the cost would be less, but the stakes are immensely higher, I guess would be for everyone. And City Hall would go to the mat to convince, to persuade the voting public that this is in your best interest.
I want to roll a videotape real quick, George, and show some water highlights, if you will. And as we look at the video here, everybody likes to water their lawn. They like to water their plants or their vegetables or whatever. The city is saying, we have to, the infrastructure of our water system, we have to rebuild it because it's so old. And, Vegam is saying, the heck with that. You should have thought about that years ago. You can't jack up the rate like that. And so all of our lawns are going to go dry, and the low-income people here in central Fresno, they're going to get the shaft because they won't be able to afford these rates. So I'm hearing one side, then I'm hearing the other. I don't know what to believe. What do I make of this?
Right.
How do I make a judgment on this?
I have no answers for you. I mean, you have a complexity that makes the animal control issue look just like 2 + 2. This is very complex, and yet it's very serious.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone understands
There's
that
a lot at stake, huh?
There is a lot at stake, and so that makes me think. It's gone through a democratic process already. The proposed rate hikes went through council hearings. They went through council votes. There was a protest hearing held, and only about fewer than 500 of the 134,000 ratepayers voted no. Now, Doug will say, that's a complex democratic process. It's not simple like simply going into a booth and voting yes or no.
Yeah.
But City Hall goes, the stakes are immensely high, and this goes into how democracy works. And that is, you as a voter go, okay, I may in 3 years, see my water bills double. We may see $300 or $400 more in water bills. And that's tough on me,
Yeah, and I'm not getting a raise.
I'm not getting a raise, and then I hear from one side, and it says, don't worry about a thing. Everything's fine. If you just go ahead and vote no, because everything's fine. But life isn't sometimes like a fairy tale. And maybe things aren't fine. And Patrick Weimiller, the Public Utilities Public Works Director, goes, we have plenty of research to show that this is needed, including the surface water treatment plant in southeast Fresno.
That's right, yeah.
The aquifer needs to be replenished, etc. There are EPA regulations about our water. We have water issues.
Our infrastructure is deteriorating.
And so that a voter goes in and goes, well, I just soon have an extra $300 in my wallet per year, so I'm going to vote no on this. And then in a year or 2 years or 3 years, there is a crisis in the water system. Well, the voters go, well, what happened?
Yeah.
And in a democracy, they're not going to blame themselves. The majority's always right. That's the way democracy works. So they're going to blame someone else. And so City Hall,
they're going to blame the city.
Who in the city? Well, you tried to convince you. So, I guess it's a kind of a long circle. I'll be surprised if it will get to court. I'll be surprised if a judge lets the election effort go forward. I'm betting.
Why?
I'm betting a judge will side with the city, and that as Doug Sloan, the city attorney, says, core services that have gone through the democratic process already, a rate like this cannot be put forward to a public referendum where emotion might sway what is best for the entire community.
We got 1 minute left. I think I heard Doug Vegam say that this is payback from the mayor because Measure G didn't pass. I mean, we don't really know that. I mean, there's no way to prove that, and there's no way to substantiate anything that, I mean, if it is true, the mayor's certainly not going to come out and say it.
Well, I mean, I have the highest respect for Doug Vegam. Doug and
I do too.
Speak all the time, but Mayor Ashley Swearingen is an elected public servant, and she does. I'm convinced she does what's right in her estimation,
For the public, yeah.
And this some sort of schoolyardish payback is utter nonsense.
Right. It's talk is all it is. It's talk. There's no question about it. Hey, next time you come on, we got to bring our friend Dennis. You guys come on at the same time. Maybe. That would be nice.
But this time, let me sit in the middle.
Okay. Okay. George Hostetter, our friend from the Fresno Bee.
Thanks, John.
Outstanding work, by the way. I love your stuff. And that's going to do it for our edition here of Connect with Me. Hope this was an informative program for you, the viewer here at home today. And we're on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. And we'll see you again for another edition tomorrow. Have a great day.